So without further ado, I'm gonna pass it along, but I want to say thank you all for joining. And if you haven't received, we're gonna have activity guides for you as parents or you as teachers to follow up on some of the things you hear from Rhonda. I want to say you're all very lucky because Rhonda is, as she shared earlier, one of 5 in Major League Baseball. That is women CFOs. And so it's very exciting to not just hear as a woman in a predominantly male industry, but really as a CFO. Again, there's only 32 of those or 30 of those around the country. And so you're very lucky to get an insight. And so we're grateful for her to join. And we hope that all of you keep a lookout because as Carolyn said, we're going to be doing these regularly. And we hope to provide, as we're all sheltered in place and at home, we hope to provide access like this to really unique individuals with tremendous stories that all of us can learn from. So with that, our amazing JA ambassador and our interviewer extraordinaire, Kiara, take it away.
So hi everyone, my name is Kiara Bowser, and today I have the pleasure of interviewing Mrs. Ronda Sedillo, the Senior Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of our very own San Diego Padres. So Miss Ronda is entering her 6th season as CFO for the Padres after joining in January 2013. She was recognized as a 2016 San Diego Business Journal CFO of the Year. She is a San Diego native. She received a Bachelor's of Science from San Diego.
Oh, you froze.
An active member of the San Diego CFO Roundtable and the Financial Executives Institute. Thank you for all your involvement in our community, and I'm excited to get started.
All right.
Right, so let's hop right into it. My first question is, tell me a little about your job as a CFO and what you actually do.
Well, I do a little bit of everything, but in general, me and my staff of 14 are responsible for counting and accounting for every dollar in the door and every dollar out of the door. As you know, we have our revenue streams from multiple sources. We, ticket sales, concessions, parking, all of the game day type activities that probably come to mind to all of you. But in addition, we have, sponsorship revenue that we have to account for. We have Major League Baseball revenue that we get from multiple sources. So we have a lot of revenue in, and of course we have a lot of revenue out with player salaries, front office salaries, 8 minor league teams, a complex down in the Dominican Republic. We are responsible for all the operations of the ballpark. So even though we're not playing games, there's a bunch of guys out there mowing the yard and fertilizing and all of that. Lights have to be turned on. The building is big. We work at Petco Park, so we're here at the ballpark every day. So and the 2 payroll, we have 2 people that work payroll that also report up through me. So all of the payroll of the over 1,000 employees that we have in full game mode, obviously, all get paid through my department as well.
Very interesting. So my next question for you is, why or how did you decide to go into accounting? Did you grow up loving numbers and math?
Well, I was always good at math, but I didn't love it. As a matter of fact, when I first got out of high school, I went to UCSD and wanted to be a doctor. And I was there for 2 years taking nothing but science classes and decided that I didn't want to go to school for 12 years to be a doctor. So I jumped ship and got into the nursing program, decided I'd be a nurse instead of a doctor, did that for a couple of years, became certified medical assistant, did the paramedic thing, got married along the way. A couple years later, had a couple kids and decided that owning my own bookkeeping business and working from home would be better suited for me. So I started taking accounting classes at Mesa College and found out that the accounting was what I really loved. It was back to numbers, which I'm good at. Although there are plenty of accountants that aren't good at numbers. So if you're not good at numbers, don't let that steer you away. So I started taking accounting classes and I really loved it. And then my kids were getting older and I didn't want to be a stay-at-home mom either. So I wanted to get a job in corporate America and take accounting at that point. I wanted to be much more than a bookkeeper. So I finally graduated, ironically, 14 years after I graduated from high school. I graduated from San Diego State. I'm slow, but I did it. And went to work for Price Waterhouse for 7 years, where I was in the corporate tax department. And then I went to a client where I worked for 12 years or 7 years with Arrowhead, working my way up from controller to chief financial officer. And then I've been at the Padres as the chief financial officer since January of 2013.
Wow, that's very inspiring. It's a great journey. My next question for you is, what were your initial interests and what was your education and career path that led you to your current role?
Just a little bit more about, so I got a bachelor's degree in accounting. Like I said, it took a long time because once I actually transferred to San Diego State, all those chemistry and biology and all of those classes that I had taken in the nursing program really weren't good for much other than general ed. So I almost had to start all over again, which was fine. I'm really good at Jeopardy on any classification that has to do with anything trivial about science, which I also love. But really, once I got into accounting and realized that it was more than just really like what you envision in a checkbook, debits and credits, and really got more into the planning and the analysis part of it, I really liked it. And so when I went to work with Price Waterhouse, I was actually in the corporate tax department for 7 years. So I got to kind of see how corporate taxes work. And that was all fine and dandy. I liked that, but I really wanted to get back to general accounting. And so when the opportunity arose to take a controller position, which is really sort of an entry-level accounting position, that I knew that I would have to take that, a job at that level to then work my way up. So I was the controller, then the chief accounting officer, and then the chief financial officer. And I really liked it. I got my CPA certificate also back in 1997. So I keep I'm a certified public accountant as well. So I keep that up to date as well by continuing education classes.
Very cool. Can you describe a typical day for you at Petco Park?
Well, the only thing typical is driving through the gate and parking, because every day is something different. A lot of times what I think I'm going to tackle first thing in the morning, I don't get to at all, or I don't get to till mid-afternoon. We're all part of Major League Baseball, which is out of New York. So I am, I get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and the first thing I do is look at my phone, and there is almost always an email from somebody in Major League Baseball with a question. So that typically starts early. And then just getting to work, there's always things that come up. I have a department of 14, so it's not like I don't spend my time writing checks or anything like that, although I do sign a lot of checks. It's really more directing ideas, directing other people on how to get their jobs done or how their jobs relate. I go to a lot of meetings. I just sit and listen. It's really just informational so that I know what's coming down the pike that we're ultimately going to have to account for. And then a lot of times we're in on the planning stages where we can help another group get to where they need to get, and we can analyze if something's financially feasible or viable, or it even makes sense to do something financially. A lot of good ideas just don't make financial sense. So we get involved in a lot of that.
All right. What are some important qualities for a CFO or senior leader in such a large organization?
Organization. I would say organization and communication. You probably hear that a lot. There's a lot of people, every decision here and virtually everywhere else affects a lot of people. And so communicating, knowing who to communicate with, how to properly communicate, get your thoughts clearly out to the group, and just not always be the boss and telling people how to do, but also listening to what other people have ideas and helping them get their ideas out and to fruition.
All right. What are some words of advice you would give someone interested in pursuing a career in the financial industry in Major League Baseball?
Well, you have to work hard, work hard, work hard, and network, network, network. You probably have heard this, especially those of you that are in high school or maybe even junior college. You know, in this world, a lot of how you get really, really cool jobs, and quite frankly, any job, is not only what your resume says, but it's really kind of who you know that can help get your resume through the front door. You know, for example, you know, we have an intern program here in the summer. We hire 12 interns and we get about 1,200 resumes. So, you know, you've really got to stand out. You've got to be able to, you know, have someone who can put a good word in for you. And you only can do that by networking, which is why it's critical, you know, even networking within JA and meeting all of the people that you meet through things like this lunch and learn and through the activities that you have. You never know when you're going to be looking for a job and somebody knows somebody that works there and says, oh yes, I know that person, you know, great kid, a lot of energy, you know, those kind of things. So that's unfortunately, you know, there's 30 baseball teams, there's, you know, multiple football teams and soccer teams and things like that. So it's really more of a professional sports. You know, in accounting, a debit is a debit and a credit is a credit. It doesn't really matter which industry you're in. And what I tell a lot of the kids, especially, you know, a lot of kids that are taking the sports MBA program out at San Diego State, think that just by having their sports MBA, they're going to land a great job at a major league franchise. And there's a lot more of them than there are jobs. And so you know, get an entry level position, and it doesn't even have to be at another team. I tell the kids all the time, you know, if you take a job, you know, at the baseball company or at a playing card company or, you know, ESPN or something like that, you'll meet people that are in this arena. And then it's a networking. There's a lot of networking opportunities, and the ones that ultimately make it into major league sports have usually worked their way up. Most people don't land a real cherry job in a professional sports organization just by jumping in from the outside.
Very true. Back now, what would you say to high school Rhonda about what's important as it relates to education and career pathways?
I probably would have told myself to think, you can't though. I mean, to think long and hard about what you really think you want to do, because, and I think most of the adults on this call would probably agree, you think you know what you want to do when you're 16 or 18 years old, and probably a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. And I think that's why they send you through general education, actually, quite frankly, for, you know, when you're going to college for your first couple of years, is so you're exposed to a lot of different things. You know, I not going to college was never an option in my family. It was always when you go to college and what are you going to take when you go to college. So everything worked out okay, obviously, for me. But I think, you know, entering the job market as a 32-year-old instead of a 22-year-old, being that it took me 14 years to get my degree, might have been a little bit of a setback. But I really worked hard. I mean, I really worked hard when I did finally get the opportunity, because I had to prove that even though I was slow in getting my degree, I could get the job done. So I think the only other thing that I think I would tell myself is don't wait till your senior year to get really good grades. That starts to matter earlier and earlier now. So for kids in high school, you know, don't goof around when you're a freshman or a sophomore. You really need to take it seriously, and it will only help you when you go to college. You'll be in that mode of studying and knowing how to study and knowing time management and those kind of things, which is critical when you are now out in the workforce.
All right. Accounting aside, what do you think are the 3 most important skills to look for when hiring?
Somebody who's confident. If you're not confident in yourself, I probably am not going to be confident in you either. So be confident when you're in a job interview. Be confident. Communication skills, again, the way you communicate in an interview is probably the way you're going to communicate in the job. So, you know, succinct answers, well thought out answers, and then do your research. You know, nothing worse than when you are trying to interview somebody from a job and you ask them at the end of the interview, do you have any questions for me? and they don't because they haven't really researched. You've always got to have questions back that shows that you're really interested in a company. So those would be the three things that I would say.
All right, well, similar to that, what do you think are 2 to 3 important traits for students at all levels to have or to begin working on for the future that will set them apart from others?
Organization, time management, and I'm going to keep coming back to communication. If you can't, and you need to be able to communicate with all levels. I mean, I have to communicate with the commissioner of Major League Baseball. I have to communicate with the sales kids downstairs. So, succinct, well thought out communication and listening. Part of communicating is not just doing all the talking, which I'm doing right now, but it's also listening and being a part of somebody else, letting somebody else have what they're saying be heard. But organization and time management are also two very important skills because there just aren't, even for kids, there's just not enough hours in the day to get done all the things that you want to do. So the ability to prioritize, not wait till the last minute to get something done. Calendars are great. I use a calendar all the time. Otherwise I would never. I've got due dates on calendars. And if it's something that I know I'm probably going to procrastinate on, I'll give myself a 7-day advance notice on a due date, just so I see it and I'll start on it. But I think communication is probably, if I think of the staff members that I've had over the last 20 plus years of working, the ones that get ahead are the ones that communicate and communicate well.
All right, well, my connection is a little unstable, but we'll keep going with the questions. What is the best piece of advice you have ever received?
Probably similar to one that almost everybody on this call has also had is, there are good days and there are bad days. And as long as the good days outnumber the bad days, you can get through it. It's kind of like what we're going through right now as a country and a world. We will get through this. There are bad days. There are days you just want to, throw in the towel and be done with it. But anything that's worth doing, is worth sticking to it and getting through it. And quite frankly, if it doesn't get better, the good news is, jump ship. There's other jobs out there. A lot of you're especially once you start working, you spend so much time working and around the people that you are working with, that if it doesn't, fill you and make you happy, and you don't feel like you're contributing or something like that, do something else. Life is too short. So, bad days, a bad day every once in a while is fine. I think, somebody said there's a reason they call it work. It's work. But most jobs, if you're truly in the job that you should be in, you love it and you're going to love going to work, and those bad days just become water under the bridge.
And my last question for you is, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
For me, well, I'm really lucky because, like I said, I come to work every day at Petco Park. It's a beautiful ballpark. Half the time, there's a baseball game going on. It's a very vibrant place to be. There's a lot of people. I love the people that I work with. Again, at all levels, across all levels, we have a great team here. Front office team. Players are great. Our coaching staff is fun. And, at the end of the day, I work in my office all day long. My office is right over the ticket windows and the ticket line, so I can see people coming to the ballpark and, again, normally. And so the most rewarding part of my job is knowing that we provide a fun, safe, family-oriented place for people to come in and have a good time.
Very cool. Well, that is all the questions I have, but we would like to open it up to the audience for questions like Mr. Sid said. So if you have a question, you can type it in the chat, and we will ask Miss Ronda on your behalf. Let's see, I think there already is some questions. All right. So from Demir, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, is what were the main internal and external struggles you encountered in your journey to this position?
This job, actually, I don't really think I've had a whole lot of struggles, other than the fact that when I did come in here, I did not have any professional sports experience. I had been an accountant for years, but nothing specifically sports related. So for me, just getting up to speed with all the nuances of sports and having to deal with Major League Baseball as the central office, who have a lot of rules that that the teams have to obviously live by, but also knowing that the San Diego Padres have the ability to make a lot of our own decisions about a lot of things. So really trying to figure out, what we could do within our arena versus what we had to go through MLB to get approved to do. And then, like I said, when you're in accounting, debits are debits and credits are credits. It's just the nuances of the sport. I think my biggest aha moment, though, was the fact that, Major League Baseball is 25 guys playing a sport, and we have to have 1,200 staff members in order to make it happen. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of people involved. The numbers are big. I remember when I signed my first $1 million check way back as a young controller, and, baseball players now, they make $1 million every payday. So, the numbers, the numbers are just big. There's just more zeros, but it's all fun.
That's crazy. Is it true, Gifford, I hope I'm going to, Gifford asked, is it true that the players are listed as assets on the balance sheet? Are there other different accounting policies in sports that you don't see in other industries?
The players actually are not listed as assets, nor are their guaranteed contracts listed as liabilities on the balance sheet. What is on the balance sheet related to the players is their signing bonuses. So when you hear that we drafted a player from college and he got a $2 million signing bonus, that signing bonus gets capitalized and amortized over the 7-year period of his minor league contract. If it's a smaller bonus, it might get amortized over a much smaller piece, but the players themselves are not on the balance sheet. We do have to disclose the guaranteed payments. We have to schedule those out for as long as we have guaranteed payments. But that's really all that's on the balance sheet related to players.
Okay. Sydney Robbins asks, has anything happened to you that you have that you regretted?
No, actually. I mean, I feel like I'm really pretty lucky. I've had good jobs since I got out of college. I enjoyed my time at Price Waterhouse. I enjoyed my time at Arrowhead Insurance. I got to do a lot of fun things. I kind of think I'm lucky that I don't really have any regrets.
Very nice. It's a really cool journey that you've gone on to get to the place where you are today. Oh, another one from Demir. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. At such a high position, how do you maintain job security in this increasingly competitive field?
Well, I think you've got to be good at what you're doing. And I think, again, back to the communication thing, I work very closely with our ownership group on, projections and where we think we're going to be financially. And, it's my responsibility to know really where every dollar is currently, where it's coming from, where it's going. And I think the fact that, the ownership group knows that I have my hands on that all the time, and that's really what I spend all my time doing is keeping track of all of the money in and the money out. And I have, they have complete faith in me that, we might go 2 or 3 weeks, not now, but in the normal times again, where, they know that I can handle all the financial part of it. And so that's one less thing that they have to worry about. And, might talk to them every 2 or 3 weeks, just kind of a catch-up thing. But I think, your actions and your work product, I mean, I think if I ever did anything that was not right, or, that got us into some sort of trouble, or, down a path that we shouldn't be going down, it might be increasingly difficult to keep your job. But, I think as long as you're doing a great job and, making people aware of the things that they need to be aware of and, heading on people off passes that they shouldn't be going down and assisting people. I think that's what I get paid to do. I have a lot of responsibility. And as long as I do it well, I think my job is pretty secure.
Santi asks, do you enjoy your job?
I love my job. I have a really cool job. I mean, like I said before, come into the ballpark, I work all day, I work hard all day. And at the end of the day, 2 or 3 days a week, I head out to the seats and watch a couple innings of baseball, and life is great. And then I go home.
It sounds really fun.
If you're a sports person, I'm a huge baseball fan. So for me, this is really kind of a dream job. And I've been doing this since 2013, and I still drive to the ballpark and think to myself, I am really lucky that I am in a job that I absolutely love.
From Janelle, she asks, what are we going to learn during this time with you? I'm very excited to be a part of this. Thank you so much.
I hope you learn that you just work hard, put your sights on something, work hard, do your best, practice communication skills, and look for different things when you're young and you've got the chance, try different things, research different things, and, hopefully someday you'll have a job that you love as much as I love my job.
Del W.
Kiara, I'm gonna step in here only because I want to be respectful of Ms. Ronda's time, and we're getting close to the end. I did see there were several questions as it related to COVID, so I'm going to ask here because we had a few from Classical Academy as well as Tierra del Fuego. But Ms. Ronda, if I were to ask you, what are the major challenges that COVID-19 has brought to your department and the organization?
Well, obviously, with COVID, the entire baseball season is on hold right now. The last thing that's going to come back on board is going to be stadiums packed with 40,000 fans. So for us right now is dealing with the fact that we can't play baseball. We were supposed to start in late March, but between the commissioner's office and the Players Association and the teams, and medical professionals and everything, we're trying to figure out a way, you've probably seen it in the news, trying to figure out a way to get some semblance of the baseball season played. I think people are at home, they're watching a lot of TV, and if they can't go to a professional sporting event, they'd sure like to watch one on TV. So it affects the livelihood of a lot of people. Like I said, we have 1,200 people in our organization, and most of them are actually our guest service workers obviously aren't working because they're the ones that are the ushers and things at the game. But even our front office staff is having to work from home. Really, if there's only on any given day 10 or 12 people of the 200 front office employees in the office, so having to be very careful about social distancing and wearing masks and being very careful while we're here. And this whole Zoom thing and working from home and Microsoft Teams, we weren't really thinking about that much about 3 months ago. So it's also the ability to adapt and deal with things as they get thrown to you. But right now, I mean, COVID has put the brakes on this industry, just like it has all professional sports and concerts. I mean, like I said, if the gatherings of 30, 40, 50,000 people are going to be the last ones to come online. So just trying to figure out what we can do in the meantime until we get back to normal, whatever that is.
Well, thank you so much, Rhonda. Thank you so much, Kiara. We have several questions keep on coming in, but unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get to all of them, but we'll take them. And if Rhonda, in her spare time, which there isn't many, wants to answer questions, I'm sure we'll get them back. I just want to thank all of you for joining. As I mentioned, we've had 50 folks on the call here. Kiara for taking the time to prepare and ask the questions so amazingly. I want to thank Rhonda for taking time. I know how busy you are, and as you just noted, it's only going to be easier, I suspect. Thank you all for joining. We're going to do this again in a couple weeks. And we want to thank all of you for your questions, and everyone is safe and healthy during this time. And visit our website for more opportunities to engage really unique in our community in the coming weeks. So thank you all.
Thank you.